Elena Hartwell had grown accustomed to quiet mornings. As the CEO of Hartwell Industries, she typically arrived at her corporate headquarters before dawn, when the building's marble halls echoed only with the soft hum of cleaning equipment and the distant sounds of early maintenance work. But this particular Tuesday morning felt different. Standing in the sunlit atrium of her home office building, she watched her 8-year-old daughter, Sophia, navigate the polished floors with the small walker she'd been using since her legs had grown strong enough to support one. Sophia had been born with spina bifida, a condition that had required multiple surgeries and years of physical therapy. The doctors had been cautiously optimistic. Some children with her condition eventually walked independently, others relied on mobility aids throughout their lives. For Sophia, progress had been slow but steady, though she'd never taken steps without her walker's support. Elena wore a crisp white blouse and tailored khaki pants, her blonde hair falling in gentle waves around her shoulders. She'd learned to dress practically for days when she might need to assist Sophia, though her daughter had grown remarkably independent over the years. "Mom, can we go see if Mr. Jake is here yet?" Sophia asked, her face bright with anticipation. She wore a soft pink dress with delicate lace trim, one of her favorites because, as she'd explained to Elena, it made her feel fancy and happy at the same time. Jake Morrison had been the building's head of maintenance for nearly 2 years. A single father in his late 30s, he had a warm smile and the kind of patient demeanor that made everyone feel at ease. His 12-year-old son, Oliver, often accompanied him to work during school breaks, a quiet, thoughtful boy who had somehow become Sophia's unlikely best friend. Elena had initially been concerned about the friendship, not because of any prejudice, but because she worried about Sophia forming attachments to people whose lives intersected with theirs only by circumstance. But as she watched the genuine care that both Jake and Oliver showed her daughter, those concerns had gradually melted away. "I'm sure they'll be here soon," Elena replied, checking her watch. Jake was remarkably punctual, arriving each morning at 7:30 sharp, his son in tow whenever school was out. As if summoned by their conversation, the sound of footsteps echoed through the atrium. Jake appeared, wearing his usual Navy work clothes and tool belt, his dark hair neatly combed, and his face already creasing into the genuine smile that seemed to be his default expression. Beside him walked Oliver, a serious-faced boy with thoughtful eyes who carried himself with the quiet maturity that often comes to children who've learned early that life requires adaptability and resilience. "Good morning, Miss Sophia," Jake called out cheerfully. "Good morning, Mrs. Hartwell." "Morning," Sophia responded with the kind of enthusiasm that seemed to light up whatever space she occupied. She began moving toward them with her walker, her progress steady and sure. Oliver's face brightened when he saw his friend. "Sophie, I brought something to show you." He held up a small notebook. "I've been researching about balance and walking, and I think I found something interesting." Elena felt a familiar mixture of affection and concern. Oliver was an exceptionally bright child, but she sometimes worried that his desire to help might lead to disappointment for everyone involved. "What kind of research?" Jake asked his son, his tone gentle, but clearly indicating this was the first he'd heard of the project. Oliver opened his notebook, revealing pages of careful handwriting and simple diagrams. "I've been reading about people who have spina bifida," he said, his young voice carrying surprising authority. "And I learned that sometimes people can walk without their walker if they have the right support and practice." Elena felt her chest tighten slightly. This was territory they'd navigated many times with well-meaning friends and family members who believed that the right attitude or technique could overcome medical realities. But Oliver wasn't finished. "The thing is," he continued, looking directly at Sophia, "I think you're already stronger than you know. I've watched how you move and you have really good balance. You just need someone to believe you can do it." Jake placed a hand on his son's shoulder, and Elena could see the pride and concern warring in his expression. "Oliver, That's thoughtful research, but... Dad, just listen, Oliver interrupted respectfully. Sophie, what if we tried something? Not instead of your walker, but just in addition to it? Sophia looked intrigued rather than discouraged. What do you mean? Oliver moved to stand beside her. What if I held one hand, and my dad held the other, and you tried taking just a few steps? Your walker would still be right here if you needed it. The suggestion hung in the air like morning sunlight, full of possibility, but requiring a leap of faith from everyone involved. Elena found herself looking at Jake, searching his face for some indication of how to respond. What she saw there surprised her. Not false optimism or dismissive concern, but the same careful consideration she'd learned to apply to complex business decisions. It's worth trying, Jake said quietly. If Sophia wants to, no pressure, no expectations, just trying. There was something about the way he said it that made Elena realize this wasn't about miraculous cures or unrealistic hopes. This was about friendship, about the simple human desire to support someone you care about in pursuing their own goals. I want to try, Sophia said firmly. But Mom, you have to watch too. And so Elena found herself standing in the sunlit atrium, watching as her daughter positioned herself between Jake and Oliver. The walker remained within easy reach, not abandoned, but temporarily set aside. Jake knelt down to Sophia's eye level. Remember, we're right here. If you feel unsteady for even a second, we've got you. Oliver took Sophia's small hand in his. Just think about walking to that spot of sunshine by the window, he suggested. That's not very far. What happened next was not miraculous in the sense of sudden, dramatic change, but it was miraculous in the way that small acts of courage always are. Sophia took one careful step, then another. Her legs, strengthened by years of physical therapy and the daily use of her walker, supported her weight with Jake and Oliver providing balance and confidence rather than physical support. By the third step, Elena realized she was holding her breath. By the fifth step, she was fighting back tears. By the time Sophia reached the patch of sunlight by the window, 7 small, determined steps. Elena understood that she was witnessing something far more significant than a child learning to walk. She was watching her daughter discover that the boundaries she'd accepted might not be as fixed as everyone had assumed. I did it, Sophia said, her voice filled with wonder rather than triumph. I actually did it. Jake and Oliver guided her safely back to her walker, both of them beaming with the kind of joy that comes from witnessing someone else's achievement. You were amazing, Oliver told his friend seriously. I knew you could do it. Elena approached, slowly, processing what she'd just witnessed. How did you know? She asked Oliver. How did you know she was ready? The boy considered the question with the thoughtfulness that characterized all his responses. I guess I just watched her every day and saw how strong she was getting. Sometimes grown-ups get so worried about keeping people safe that they forget to help them try new things. The observation was gentle but pointed, and Elena recognized the wisdom in it. Jake cleared his throat softly. Mrs. Hartwell, if it would be helpful, Oliver and I could work with Sophia on walking practice. Just a little bit each day, always with her walker nearby, only if you think it's a good idea. Elena looked at her daughter, who was practically glowing with excitement and newfound confidence. I think, she said slowly, that would be very helpful indeed. Over the following weeks, the morning walking practice became a cherished routine. Sophia's progress was gradual but unmistakable, her confidence growing with each successful step. But more than that, Elena watched her daughter develop the kind of friendship that transcends circumstances. The friendship of people who believe in each other's potential and aren't afraid to help make it real. And sometimes, Elena reflected, the most precious gifts come not from those who share our advantages, but from those who share our hopes and have the courage to help us reach for them. The end.